Carl is passing out some material to those of you who sneak by the door, the table there.
Okay.
I want to sit over there.
Okay, so wherever you like.
Yeah, you don't mess with her. She wants to sit there, boy, you let her sit there.
I'm listening.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to sit next to a friend like
Oh, yeah.
I'll protect you.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, so I went from Pots of Flames to Lake Grove and learned a lot more, and my style of, I've always been a problem solver, or I think field expedient. I'm working with somebody in a counseling session, and I figure out a 3-step way to handle the problem they're dealing with, and then 2 nights later I would teach that in class, and then the next week I'd use it with somebody else I was counseling, and so by doing that, things sharpened. And you'll see on the paper, all of these pictures came from that sort of a model. That's how all of these things developed, a little bit at a time, starting in '59, going clear through till I realized roughly in the '70s that I had a book, but I've been a reluctant writer. I never wanted to sit down and do that kind of work. So I thought, well, I had to put pressure on me to do that. So I signed up for the Doctor of Ministry program with the understanding I could convert the class material to a book as my dissertation project. And that was all fine until I got the meeting towards the end of that program with the instructors who said, oh no, you have to do new work, research, testing, and you can do maybe the book as just a small part of that. So I wrote the first part of it, but what got me to write it was that I had paid all that money, and I told everybody I was in the program, and so it was too cheap, and I'd be too embarrassed not to finish it. So that, and in the process, after about 8 or 9 years in the program, they finally put deadlines in, and so I finally turned it in like within a few days of the deadline. So I got that 300 pages taken care of, and that changed my life, just the process of doing something that big. So then, anyway, I wrote a little bit more in the 90s. I wrote some for the talker listener card, so people that I worked with would have some guidance at home to work with that. And Sally, when I retired in '99, Sally just before that said, I'm going to read The Artist's Way and do the program. It's a 3-month program to help you readjust your thinking about yourself and figure out you're an artist of some sort. And she wanted to write a book because she'd been doing, for Pam's, that program, she'd been doing interviews with people who wanted to learn about running a one-person business, which she had done. So she finally got the place where she said, instead of doing all of these one at a time and taking a lot of time, I'd rather just do a workshop now and then. So she put it all together. Anyway, that was going to be her book. So we agreed that she would do that program, which finished right as I retired, and I would walk out of my office at work into the kitchen and take over. And so I would do all the shopping, the cooking, the house stuff, anything related to that, and run interference with the kids, handle everything else, and she would go in her office and write her book, which she did. Then I watched her do that after I retired, and I was wiped out, exhausted, but that was easy compared to the work I've been doing. So I watched her do the writing and the work and saw how hard it was, and also saw what kind of work it took to sell a book, to go do workshops and training and stuff like that. I thought, that's too much. But somebody from Liberty University found my listening skills stuff, which we'd put on Sally's website, about the talker listener card, and wanted to use it. Well, so we've kind of tidied that up and put it in a spiral bound and sent it off. And then we redid that spiral bound for about 3 times, and they just kept using it. And then I thought, I never put the fat belly, flat brain stuff that's on the, that's here, that I had developed and been done in the dissertation. I never included that. So I put that into the first part of the book. Then I had to redo the whole rest of the book in order to make it all work together. And that took another year. And by 2007, then we produced the first book, that's the red cover. And that, then Liberty started using right away. And much to my surprise, see, my theology, this is the left hand here, see, is kind of over here and, sort of fingernails hanging on the edge. See, and Liberty's, see, they're fundamentalist, over on this edge, kind of hanging on the edge. Jerry Falwell and Son, have been presidents there, or Son still is. And so anyway, they use my book in the lower division and in the seminary and in an online program for Baptist pastors across the country in a master's in counseling program.
Oh, my.
Doesn't that just
Good
wow
for
you?
Good for
Yeah,
you.
it makes my jaw drop. And I get letters and emails from these folks that are just fundamental as the world, and lovely people, and they're just from a different place than I am, but they're using it like crazy. And to date, I've sold something over 30,000 copies, and they bought about half of those. Who knew? But so it's being used to train counselors. Now, the second edition, then, they like to have relatively current text, so put a little pressure on me, and so I've got that turned out at the first of 2015, and that's the green one that's sitting out there. And with that one, I put one listening technique at the end of each chapter, so you'd sort of start working on those as you went along. Before, I had them all in one, and it was too much. And I added another 40 pages to it. So, and there's some more good stuff in there. So anyway, and for me, the genius of the book is that it's practical, down-to-earth language. It's kidding language. It's accepting language. It helps people relax and figure out who they are, what they're about, and how they're going to function and operate in the world and get along better. Anyway, that's the book. Why? Now, what's the purpose or nature of it for now? Well, one, everybody deals with screens, and so people, the amount of relating time we have is just going in the dumper, and our ability to listen and understand each other and deal direct, not through a screen of some kind, is really getting worse. A guy wrote, we had a power outage at my house this morning, and my PC, laptop, TV, DVD, iPad, and my new surround sound system were all shut down. Then I discovered that my iPhone battery was flat, and to top it off, it was raining outside, so I couldn't play golf. I went into the kitchen to make coffee, and then I remembered that this also needs power. So I sat and talked with my wife for a few hours. She seems like a nice person. Well, one of my friends invited me to speak to retired guys at one of the retirement communities. So I had about 90 or so there, and he heard after. Oh, and I said to the old guy, he says, your wives all say to you, you don't listen? He said, you want to know the truth? They're right. You don't know how to listen. And so we went on from there and did the talk. And the guy who invited me was in the restroom afterwards, and he heard one of the old guys say, I've been married for 60 years, and I just found out I have a lot of catching up to do. See, the most common reaction I've had to the book has been, I thought I was a good listener, and I discovered I wasn't. See, what most people do is what we call ritual listening. It looks like listening. You kind of let your ears hang out for a little bit, but what you're doing is waiting for them to take a breath or shut up so you can straighten them out, give them advice, and take care of their problems. See, we all want to be helpers, and so we've learned that helping is talking. And what I'm here to tell you is that most of the time people don't appreciate that, and it doesn't help, and it's not listening. And what we're going to do is to work on what listening actually is. So that we're going to take a crack at. Let's see, and I worked with notes from kind of various places. For me, listening is an act of love. Think of the word agape in the New Testament. It's God's accepting, understanding love that surrounds us and supports us so that we can relax, take a look at ourselves, grow up, come alive, and function in that kind of love. For me, one of the ideas I got in seminary, one of the two that was good, was that in a counseling session, what you're doing is surrounding someone with agape, with that kind of accepting love, where in that relationship that they have with you, they can relax and come alive and function better. And for me, listening and counseling are essentially the same thing. that if you're a professional counselor, which I am, if you're a professional, you have a little bag of tricks that you've learned, this sort of extra stuff that you have that the average person on the street doesn't have. But 80, 85, 90% of good counseling is simply good listening. Now, why do people go and pay a lot of money to counselor professionals? It's because their friends are not good listeners. If their friends were good listeners, they could talk things through, figure them out, work them out, function better, be healthier, and they wouldn't need to go to a pro. So you can do 85% of what professional counselors can do if you know how to listen. So that's what we're going to try to do. One illustration about that. In fact, the illustration includes Rebecca Hazen right there, because you and I went to a preaching conference in New York, and what we did, we met at no, it wasn't, you were at something else. I was at a preaching conference where I discovered that their services went anywhere from 1 hour to 2.5 hours. And when I got back to Southminster, I said, I'm never going to listen to anybody complain again about the length of the service here. Which never went over 1 hour and 15, So anyway, but you and I met in the airport, and so we said, we're going to be on the same flight back to Portland. So I took a look at the guy at the counter, and I said, you look like you've had a really tough day. See, his body language communicated. He talked. I listened. See, I fed back what I observed in him. And then I said, we're good friends. We'd like to sit together on the plane back if we can rearrange the tickets, And this guy just took our tickets, did like this slam, handed them back, never said a word. So we got on the airplane, and we said to the stewardess person, or handed them, and she said, turn left. And we said, no, we're that way. She said, no, you're not. You're that way. She said, no, you're not. You're that way. Now, notice how I didn't listen? I didn't say, oh, really? Did you think we were this way? I didn't do that. I said, no. I kept talking. I didn't listen.
You knew better.
And finally, she took our tickets and said, look, 2A, 2B. You're in first class. See, so now, I think what happened was I had acknowledged him as a human being. See, acknowledged what was going on inside him, and that touched him. And he did what he could do to us, which was give us first class tickets.
Which was his thank you for your listening.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm a suspicious sort. See, I look back because I think sometimes, they need to balance planes, I look back and I thought, people pretty evenly spread all the way through. That's not it. Then I thought, maybe there are no two together back there. Well, no, that wasn't it. It's just what he could do to thank us. So anyway, I think listening does that. And this stuff works if you're on the TriMet, or in a family gathering, or wherever you happen to be, or when somebody gets together with you at Starbucks and says, oh, God, I'm going to go through a divorce. See, the first thing you want to do is to be helpful and say, oh, gee, that's too bad, dear. You'll get through it. I know 16 people who've gone through divorces, and they've all made it, See, and right into talking to be helpful. Instead of listening to say, oh, this must be a terrible jolt for you, what's going on? See, instead of listening and helping them talk. So that's what we're going to work on. Okay, the pictures. First picture. This is my sort of theory of emotions and how people operate. Fat belly, that's where I put the emotional system, where I get hungry, excited, irritated, anxious when I'm in front of a crowd. See, a lot of emotions for me show up right there at first. And so I just put it there as sort of handy. Now an emotion, or for me a feeling, for me they're interchangeable, emotions and feelings, is sort of something that has energy in it. If I get curious, it moves me to action. Because then I go to the computer and I Google something, get the information, and then I go, relax. See, it's kind of like a little steam builds up there, and an action uses up that steam energy, and then I relax. So one theory of behavior is that we move from the state of anxiety to the state of rest. See, if you get attracted to somebody, you call them up and make a date, and you go, relax. See, the emotion is the energy that drives us. In a class, for example, somebody will ask a question, and I'll say, what had you asking that? Oh, nothing. See, now, the emotion jogged them. See, they were curious, irritated, confused, bothered, something was going on, or it wouldn't have jolted them to raise their hand. See, and they either don't know that, or they're not telling me. See, so when you, like the father is, there are times I can remember reading the paper angry, and he, you know, you read a paper like that, it crinkles a little bit. See, and everybody in the house knows you're angry. You say, "Gee, Dad, what's wrong?" "Nothing." "You bought it?" See, see, that's the only person in the neighborhood who doesn't know that he's angry. You know? See, often emotions are things we've learned to deny and dodge and weave and pretend we don't have them. And in the Bible, you know, it kind of raises some questions about some particular ones, and certain ones you're not supposed to have, all of that stuff. See, and so we pretend we don't have them, you know, or we have learned not to have them for so long that when they happen, we don't recognize them. Yeah, but those are emotional energy, and when we don't recognize them, trouble is they come out some other way. And somebody said once, in fact, Tom Jackson's church, what the body doesn't say, no, what the mouth doesn't say, the body will. See, we don't say that we're disturbed. The body is going to show it some way. I mean, you're going to get an ulcer. You're going to, you know, get tight and tense, and you're not going to, because you're tight and tense, you're not going to see something. You're going to trip and drop something. See, it just comes out some way. So, for me, emotions are involuntary. They just happen. Now, once in a while, I can kind of activate some, like if I get to thinking about Hawaii and walking along the beach with a Mai Tai, you know, sometimes a flood of warm, relaxed feelings will settle in. See, once in a while you can do something like that. But if you tell yourself, I am going to fall in love with this person because that's the exact right one for me to marry, it is just not going to help at all, and probably it'll get in the way of that developing. You know, see, deciding to have an emotion rarely does any good. You tell a kid to like spinach, it's not going to happen. You know, they may discover it someday in some situation, but it isn't going to happen that way. Second piece, this is a yin-yang squiggle down in the middle of the heart there. It implies it takes two to tango. You know, there's, you got something to offer, I got something to offer, we work together, you know, the world's going to go better, that kind of stuff. See, and I'm open to you, you're open to me, and I put that inside a heart, and for me that's the relating function. And that has two sides to it. And the one side is ownership. That's where I say, you know, this is how I see it. See, in fact, what I'm teaching, this is how I see that. And then there's openness. That's openness to you. See, so when you respond, see, I'm ready to hear what you have to say. And there's a kind of language that goes along with that that's a little further over called heart talk. See, and heart talk is where I say, oh, this is the way it looks to me. How does it look to you? See, now, I can illustrate that the best by leaving it out. If I say, no, the Bible says, no heart talk. And when somebody says that on the radio or in the television, you know, the hair in the back of my neck stands up because I don't agree with what he's saying the Bible says, you know. If he just said, you know, I really feel really strongly that this is what the Bible says, see, that would leave room for me to feel really strongly about something else that I think it says. See, that leaves room. Just a simple one. This is the way you load a dishwasher. Implication, it came down with the Ten Commandments from God. You know, people say this is the only one, you know. Right away you want to say, oh, well, come on, it's not. Or somebody says, you know, you never help out in the kitchen. Wait a minute. There was one time, it was 1973, it was a December 12th. It was 12th. That's where I did help out in the kitchen. So you just want to fight back, because there's something, you get excluded when people go with the only way and the have-tos and the alwayses and the shoulds and the nevers. See, all those are pushy language that leave out heart talk. Heart talk says, you know, I feel really strong about this, really matters to me. It may or may not grab you. See, and then see, how do you see it? So heart talk, and the heart function for me is ownership and openness. Okay. Then the next part, you notice, is thinking. That's the brain, and you notice I put harsh edges on it. Remember in the olden days when they first used the computer printouts that had all the holes? They said, do not fold, staple, or mutilate. Now, why did they say that? Well, because you wanted to. Because you were being treated like a machine instead of a person, you know, on that. Thinking is logical and See, thinking is we are a group of people, we're in a room, actually we're all sitting, one on a stool, one behind a table, see, those are sort of facts, or those are observations. See, it's what comes from up here. Does not tell you, am I happy to be here? See, that's different. That comes out of the emotional system down below. See, that's stomach talk. See, I could be thinking, oh, I really don't want to be here. I'd rather be fishing today. But the truth is, I'd rather be here or I'd be fishing today. See, so that's stomach talk, the emotion stuff. The head talk is the logical. And if I were to say, let's see, you are wearing a T-shirt that says Brewster's Ice and then it's Huntington Beach, California on it. Now he can start feeling uncomfortable, see, because he may think I'm irritated that he's wearing a T-shirt to my workshop, high-powered workshop. See, he might think, oh, Jim would really like a T-shirt like that, or he has a connection. See, you don't know. And think how we try to compliment other people. We do it with logic, and it doesn't work. And so the husband says to the wife, "My honey, you look really great in that dress." What does she say? She defends herself, and she says, "This old thing, I bought it at Lerner's, or I got it at the rummage sale, or why didn't you notice it before? Or don't I usually look good?" See, goes right into defense, because logic doesn't let you know where the person is. The person is the human part, and that's the part below the neck. That's the heart function and the emotional system. So if you want a compliment to work, you say, "Hey, I really like the way you look in that dress." See, that included, it's me who likes it. See, other people may not, but it's a feeling, not a thought. Okay? Thoughts need, it's kind of like it takes two parts personal to balance one part logic, and you'll find that picture on, if you turn your page over to the next page. You see those little balance scales? See, the E is for the emotion, the H is for the human factor, that heart there, and the J is for judgment or thought. So when I share something, if you want to write a letter or say something to somebody that's difficult, you want to be sure you get all the parts in it. If you just get the logic in it, then it will not work. People will get defensive right on. See, if I give you all the reasons why we should be good to a certain group of people, see, even if you thought that it was a good idea yourself, you're going to get resistance because I told you should, and that's the only way to think about it. But if I say, I'm really concerned about this group of people, it looks to me, that's the human part, as though, see, they're getting put down and being excluded. And I don't like that to happen to any bunch of human beings. See how easy that is to hear? See, that's me taking ownership of what's here. It's me acknowledging how I feel about it, and it's telling you what I think. See, if you get all three of those parts in it, it tends to go better. Now, if you drop any off, you notice that in some cases they're dropping them off the left side, and in some cases all. Notice the middle one under there that says, when it tips that way, it goes J and D. See, then the judgment changes quality and becomes judgmental. See, a judgment is, the Bible has some good stuff to offer. It looks that way to me, and I find some benefit and enjoy it. See, judgmental is, this is what the Bible says, and if you don't go along with it, you're going to hell. See, that's a, I know the truth, and you don't, and you either agree with me, or you're in trouble. See, that kind of judgmental stuff really doesn't sell anywhere, and it's exactly the same thing if you're talking about waterless cooking, the latest way to quit smoking, or lose weight, or something about the Bible. You've been converted to something, and that process just, once you get there and you know the truth, what's that saying about there is nobody more righteous than a newly converted sinner? It's just all of a sudden you know the truth and you have all the answers then. And in seminary, one of the professors says, there is a corresponding one to that. Somebody asked him one time, what happened when you converted a jackass? And he says, well, then you have a Christian jackass. The person doesn't become nicer necessarily. They may be converted to trying a new path, but they're still the same jackass they were unless they work on that. Okay, Now, we've got some options. What do we do when we recognize emotions like that? That we're bothered about something or concerned, and so we think it over and all of that. There are two kinds of action or behavior options, and one is talking, and the other is, the other stuff is physical. What do you do? So one decision I have to make is, do I share this with somebody? See, if I feel like, there's somebody who really irritates me, I get really angry, I could say, I got really angry when you said that. I was disappointed and, got upset. That's sharing it with the person. Or I could punch them out. That's acting on it. Or I could choose to stay away from them. That's another way to, see, there are a lot of ways to act on it. So there's kind of like a talking area and other kinds of acting area that we get to choose once that happens. Zuckerman, this morning in the USA Today, I want you to know this talk is current. This morning in the paper, he said, Facebook, we're changing our mission, and we're going to be working on people connecting. And you notice in my book, communicating and connecting in relationships. We're going to work on connecting, get more kinds of larger groups for people so they meet people who are interested in similar topics, but have wider points of view, and so you build community and connection. Community and connection with people. See, this kind of language, when we use it, builds community and connection. It helps us. Now I want to have you try it. Tell me, if I say you look great, is that a thought or a feeling?
It's a judgment.
Thought, yes, it's thought or judgment. Okay. What would a feeling be that would be related to that, maybe?
I think you.
No, see, it's
How about-
tricky. It's not, I think you look great. See, that does get the human part in. What about the emotion?
I like the dress on you.
Was that?
I like that dress on you.
Yeah, I like that dress on you, or I don't like that dress on you, or something,
I feel happy when you wear that dress.
Yeah, you're describing the emotion, okay? Okay. Here's one. I don't want to go out tonight. What's that? Thought or feeling?
Thought.
It's a feeling.
Yeah, see, I don't want, see, there's a feeling. See, I want ice cream on my fresh Oregon strawberries and angel food cake. See, that's a feeling. Okay? And if I were feeding back and finding out what the person thought, I'd say, oh, so you have something in mind about where you'd like to go tonight? Oh, that I got the like in there, still feeling. Another
Jim,
one.
how is that not a demand? Pardon me for interrupting, but how is that not a demand? I want ice cream on my strawberries.
Okay, it's a demand when you say it the way you just did. See, I want,
That was the tone of voice.
yeah, see, I want ice cream on the strawberries if that works for you. See where you leave the room for the other person?
Gotcha.
I prefer ice cream.
Yeah, I'd prefer, yeah. If it's whipping cream or ice cream, I'd prefer that.
Yeah.
See,
I'd
that's
rather
sharing
have
because-
whipping cream, thank
Want
you.
is a demand word rather than a feeling word.
No, want it, want it. Not bias, not,
I gotcha.
yeah, if it's pushy, if the language is pushy, yeah, but if it's not, it's not.
Okay.
It's just, it's like you're saying, I'd rather, I'm gonna go have fish and chips for lunch, and you've got two options for the stuff you dip it in. I'd rather have the spicy stuff. See, this is not saying, look, I have to have the spicy stuff. This is just, I'd rather that, or I prefer that. But you're not required. My feeling doesn't make a requirement on you. Okay, another one. I feel that you never listen to me. Thought or feeling?
Feeling. No?
It's a judgment.
No, it's making a judgment about the other person,
Yeah.
though.
I feel that you never listen to me.
How about I feel like I'm never heard?
I feel like that's better. That's a feeling, yeah. This is one of the traps, and that's why I bring it up here. I feel that when people start trying to share feelings, they go to a class like this and they start working and doing it, one of the mistakes is to say, I feel that in front of whatever comes afterwards, and you're just prefacing your thought. I feel that you shouldn't have done this. Well, no, what are you gonna do? You're gonna defend yourself. You're just attacked for doing the wrong. See, what might the feeling be if I said, I feel that you shouldn't have done that? What could the feeling be?
Guilt.
Guilt? Irritation? Anger? Upset? I might say you shouldn't have done that, and what I am is really happy you did, because I wanted to see it done, but you're going to catch hell because you've done it. You know, but I'm pleased about it. So I feel that is a trap phrase. When you or someone else say it, just know that it is not a feeling. See, that's when somebody said to me as a pastor, Jim, I want to have lunch. I want to spill my guts. I think, oh, I'm going to catch it. See, they're not going to share feelings with me. They're going to attack me. Jim, you shouldn't have done this. You should never, ever say that in a sermon. That's not sharing your feelings. And then, see, but when I listened, then I'd say, oh, so you really didn't like it when I said that. It wasn't just that I didn't like it. You shouldn't have said it. Oh, so you feel really strongly that that's the sort of thing that you'd rather not have said in a sermon. Oh, well, yeah. See, I'm helping to get the feeling back into that. See, or I'm trying to recognize what's under that. But I feel that doesn't tell you what's under it. I feel that we should be doing something else today rather than sitting at Presbytery. What does that say? What are the possibilities?
Something else on your agenda.
You shouldn't say those here. I'd rather not go, or I wish something more vital would happen, or, you know, a lot of possibilities. Okay. Oh, just guess about this one. I don't like what's going on in Washington now. Feeling or thought?
It's a judgment.
I don't like.
I don't like. See, it could be they're doing the right stuff, but I don't like it. I don't think they're doing the right stuff. But there are a lot of different points of view about that. See, that's kind of open, leaves room for the people. Okay. Now, so for me, this is how we operate. And we get emotional stuff hit, you know, that jolts us into thinking, kind of what we're going to do, gets us moving. Now, oh, and incidentally, see, if we just all did that, see, I think we have enough concern for humanity and for children and for people and for outcasts and for building things and desire to do all sorts of stuff to make a wonderful world. But something is going wrong because people are dying of starvation and getting hurt and shot and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So what's wrong? Now we go to the second line, the flat brain syndrome. You see all those little rocks down in the belly there? That's the leftover stuff from when we were kids. You know, it said we got, you know, highlighted red check marks on our papers, and people told us we shouldn't do that, and our dad could saw the board better than we could when we were little, and so we grew up with a lot of kind of hurts and fears, and we heard a little bit on television or heard parents argue, so we got insecure, and that's kind of the leftover stuff we somehow never got rid of. Then in the second one, kind of when we grow up, then big things happen, like a divorce or financial crisis or job loss, or the preacher says something he shouldn't have said in the sermon, or she shouldn't have said, you know, and we have a big one, and that really overloads that emotional system, so it expands. Now, when the emotional system expands, it's a cluster of stuff that's left over, you know, and sometimes people would be really upset and say, gee, what's troubling you? I don't know, I'm just upset. See, it's just overloaded down here, and they can't identify. Well, they had like probably 15 or 20 disappointments or irritations over the last few weeks. They're all in there, so it's not one of them, it's just the cluster. It's sort of leftover stuff. Now, when when that happens, then notice there is now not quite room for the heart anymore. So the next picture, that heart flattens out and becomes brick-like. See, and that's the part of us that says, well, I'm okay, you're okay, and we can work this out. See, that ability goes away. Then what happens is it's my way or the highway. See, you give in, you go along. See, this is the right, see, because I'm upset and angry, you got to quit doing what you're doing. See, that's when the whole body gets tense and the heart becomes a brick. So the relating function then gets shot when we get overloaded emotionally down here. And that's even true when the emotion is excitement or love. People who are in love is like, they can't see anything else, you know, I mean, there's nothing. They can't see any other possibilities. Then if you think of that person, see the emotional system here kind of overloading, and putting pressure on everything in here, flattening the heart, puts pressure up through the system. See, women who've been pregnant understand this, you're not, it's kind of hard to move and do anything. And so the heart function here gets flattened, and it pushes through the back of the spinal area, puts pressure on the brain, see, which is designed to function when it's this way, and if you go like that, see, it flattens it, and think of the memory banks in there, those little chips in there, see, they bend. And so the stuff you learned last night before the test, when you get to your class to take the test the next day, it's all gone. But as soon as you settle down and drink coffee afterwards with your friends, it all comes back. See, that's when the brain stretches out and starts to work again. That's also, when that brain goes flat, that's when we get really angry, and upset, and we say awful things that later we say we didn't mean. But take that a step further. Flatten that brain, and look what it's going to do to the eardrums. It's going to squeeze, the next pictures, it squeezes on the eardrums, so we do not hear accurately when we're upset. See, and again, upset can be positive or negative. And it pushes on the eyeballs from inside, and so when somebody's angry, I'd see him in a counseling session, I'd look at him, my husband did that. See, the eyes are bulging. That's because that brain, is putting pressure on the eyeballs from the inside. Now, while that's going on, see, they can't see accurately, they can't hear accurately, and they can't think straight. That's all because the emotional system down here is overloaded. Go back to the person in love. See, they're in love. Oh! And I would, in a counseling session before the marriage, if I would explain to them about conflict resolution, which they're going to need plenty of when they get married, they'd say, "Oh, no, we're in love. We won't have any trouble with that." See, and I look at them, their eyes are bulging, and I know that there is nothing penetrating, and nothing's going in the ears either. So what I know is I have to unload that fat belly down here, so it kind of subsides, and then things up here start to work again. And then I can, once I've done that, and I say, "Gee, when did you guys fall in love? How are your parents reacting to it?" "Oh, they're all the same." Well, I get all this emotional stuff unloaded in a process, and then they calm down, and then they can listen about conflict resolution, because they can then hear it, because their ears are not being pressed from the inside. So, see, if I'm anxious, if I'm late driving over here, got caught in the traffic downtown, and I walk in and I'm late walking in, Carl says to me, "Hi, Jim." What I hear is, "You're late again, stupid." See, because of the anxiety, it affects our hearing. When I'm excited about a fishing trip to Alaska, and I talk with Sally about it, and she listens to me and says, "Oh, you're really excited about that." And what I hear is, see, I'm hearing not accurately because the excitement here, brain flat. What I hear is, "Okay, let's go." And so I'm going to the phone to arrange for the airline tickets. And now we got trouble, see, because I'm excited. And because I'm excited, I do not hear accurately. I remember buying my first car was a 1937 Oldsmobile. It had a straight 8 engine, one of those that all the cylinders in a row. Mm-hmm. And it had one of those gangster hoods that was a mile long. And I looked at the front tires from the front, and they were like this. They didn't go like this, they were like that. And I looked at them, and my excitement over buying that car literally straightened them up. Oh, that's not a problem. See, I couldn't think straight, couldn't see straight, because I was so excited about getting my first car. That was a big mistake. Anyway, see, so our emotions, when they're really strong, can affect how we see, think, hear, and all of that stuff. Now notice in the last of those pictures, that's my favorite one. Notice how much room there is for the mouth. See, when a person is emotionally loaded, the mouth is just going like crazy. And go back to when I'm angry. See, I'm angry at one of the kids, and I say, "My gosh, you're the worst kid I ever knew in my life. I feel like throwing you through the second-story window, landing you on the sidewalk." Now later on, I realized, oh, calm down. That wasn't a nice thing to say. This kid is not, he isn't like that. In fact,
That's verbal abuse, honey.
Yeah, it is. It's flat-brained, fat belly, hard heart stuff. It's damaging to him. So I come back later, and then I say to him, "Honey, I didn't mean that." Does he believe me?
No.
Why not?
He probably hears it all the time,
Yeah.
and the pattern's not changing.
Yeah, what's the pattern? Well, that's an abusive pattern. See, it's what we call, in technical language, a congruent message. See, the tone, the body look, the words, all of it went together. All of it supported the message. So when you've gotten really angry at a spouse or somebody else or whatever, don't go back later and say you didn't mean it, because they'll know you're lying and then not trust you again for the next thing, because it's not true.
It came out as a judgment?
It came out as something I meant then. When I was like that, I meant that.
Yep.
Yeah. So what I need to do is go back instead and say to him or to whoever I did this to, when I said that, I apologize for the damage and for hurting you, first off. And it's true at the time I meant it. And when I meant it, it's when I had a fat belly, a hard heart, and a flat brain, and I was temporarily insane. I was really off kilter, and it was an awful thing to say or do, and I apologize for that behavior. That is no way to handle your emotions, and I was really out of line. See, that's honest and that's real. And yeah, we did mean it then, but then later we don't. In fact, I usually have somebody picked out, an old friend, where I say, Carl, yell at Carl, and then when I come back later, I say, well, Carl, now that I got my perspective back, I know that there are at least, there are 5, 6, maybe 7 people worse than you. See, that's when you get your perspective back. Anyway. All right. Any comments, questions about that? See, for me, this is kind of an understanding way of how we operate. See, it's not excusing us. What I've noticed about people, except for those in this room, what I've noticed about other people is that everybody that I know gets this way sometimes. See, flat brains are common. Some people, I have what I think of as walking flat brains, like walking pneumonia, not sick enough to stay home from work, but sick. Some people just always have fat bellies, hard hearts, and flat brains to some degree, are always a little edgy and irritable and ready to jump and see, they're just kind of always seeing the negative. And so for me, again, it's accepting, because we all do this, and I encourage folks like in offices or families to be able to use this language and say, hey, I got a flat brain today. So the co-workers will say, well, you got a choice. Should we leave you alone, or do you want to talk about it? Up to you. But see, we give you a little space, recognize that we all get this way once in a while, and don't take too seriously. A teacher, for example, with a class of kids, if she walks in there and she's feeling awful today and she's got all this stuff going on in her body, edgy, not feeling well, depressed a little or whatever, if she tries to cover that up, see, and be tough, the kids are going to pick up the dishonesty of that, and they'll feel it in their bones, and will pick at her all day. It's like the chicken, one chicken, skulks, all the other chickens, pick at it. Or if you walk into your house and the dog is skulking, it messed in the corner. It doesn't encourage you to love the dog. You kind of want to throw it through a window, but you don't do that because that's not part of who you are, but that's what you want to do, kind of. See, anyway, it draws out the worst in us when people try to cover that stuff up, because there's something wrong with it, Yeah.
I'll give you an example. When I taught and I had laryngitis, all I had to do was walk in and kind of creak. I can't talk today.
Yeah.
Man, those kids were on task,
Yeah.
looking at me the minute I whispered anything. They
Yeah.
were so fantastically behaved. They're always good, but they were fantastic.
You know why?
Because I was honest with them. Because I was honest with them.
And you shared what was going
Yeah.
on with you, yeah. See, if the same teacher goes in who's feeling awful and depressed, says, hey kids, I'm feeling really down in the hole today and kind of depressed and irritable and stuff. And so if I happen to jump on one of you, it's not you. It's because I'm not feeling well. And they go, oh, okay. And they all help out. See, when we share, it's like sometimes parents are really irritated because the parents are going through crisis times, finances, other sorts of things, but they're keeping it inside, and the kids are just awful. and if you share and say, we're going through kind of a hard time and frustrated right now, just don't know kind of how we're gonna handle a couple problems we're facing, kids pitch in and help. See, we respond. It's kind of like if you have an itch in the middle of your back and you don't tell anybody where it is, you don't get to complain because nobody scratched it. See, we all need to be scratched once, we all need, like Eric Burns said, to be touched sometimes, and supported and encouraged. And anyway, if we share it with people, then people tend to look out for us.
I think the hardest thing for us human beings to do is to identify a need and to be able to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because we've all been taught to be self-sufficient, independent, and strong, and especially if we're Presbyterian.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah.
Somebody called the Presbyterians the bland leading the bland. No emotion. Something wrong with that.
No, I thought it was the opinionated trying to lead the opinion.
Oh, that's another book, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, look down the next step here. I like to use again the language, stomachs overload, hearts turn brick-like, brains go flat, hearing is skewed. Hard heart, or no, fat belly, hard heart, flat brain. We all get that way sometimes, so let's just acknowledge it and relax about it. Then what do we do about it? Why don't you look at those first two pictures on the right there, the side view. Notice with the side view that the slump there, when we're emotionally overloaded, we tend to be tilted forward like we got the weight of the world on our shoulders. Our knees lock back, so you notice the knees lock back, and that throws the butt back, and that makes your middle of your back kind of cave in. And so several things are affected by that. One, when the shoulders are bent carrying the weight of the world, then we feel pressure, we get neck pain and headaches often from that. The middle of the back, when I put my butt back, and I can feel a little pinch in the middle of the back, and so we get lower back pain. And when you lock the knees back, some interesting, see, it puts you back on your heels. And what I remember 100 years ago when I was working with Little League kids, like the shortstop out there really wanted to, looking cool meant putting your knees back like this, back on your heels, putting your, the ball glove and your hands on your knees. But that was terrible for the kid, because when the ball was hit over here, he had to do two things. One, he had to straighten up, bend the knees, and two, then he had to move. See, that's get him there a step behind. So what we taught the little kids was, put your knees forward, you bend your knees forward, get up on the balls of your feet, then it's only one movement to go over there. It's the same for me in tennis now. If I'm kind of standing flat-footed, then I've got to do two things. I've got to go this way and then move. And you just get there too late. Now, with the body, if I'm up on the toes and bend the knees a little bit and the back, I'm straight like this second picture there, see, if I'm kind of straight like that, then when somebody bumps me or pushes me, see, I can just step over. If I'm up on my heels with my knees locked back, and kind of carrying the weight of the world on my shoulder, somebody pushes me, see, I fall over. See, we become pushovers when the body is out of whack and we're emotionally overloaded, the brain is flat. See, this thing affects the body. So you can approach dealing with this overload in here two ways. You can start on the outside, see, and when you're feeling under pressure and tight and all that stuff, and you tend to knees be locked back, and you're kind of walking a little tight. And see, if you walk up to the counter where you take something back at a store and look like that, they will jump on you. See, because they've been jumped on by the previous 17 customers that have come in there. See, or if you go into the hospital, the nurses will jump on you. If can I be here? Kind of, they'll just land on you. I learned that as a young pastor. But if you get up here like this and get your body up, notice see, if I get my head up here, the voice is better. When it's out here, see, when I would preach a sermon I was not sure of, and I'm leading with my chin, I would have a tight throat by the end of the sermon, and my voice would be going away. When I get it back here, see, then it comes from where it should. So you can do things to change how your body looks. See, if I walk up this way to the complaint counter and bring something back, they're not gonna give me much trouble. You know, you just are gonna look different. And on the next page, it says, straighten up, fake it till you make it. There are a whole bunch of things on YouTube about that. The fake it till you make it, the act like you know what you're doing. And it suggests, that right now, this was before Wonder Woman got popular again, but if you're going to go in for an interview, see, and you've been out in the lobby waiting for your turn, and on your cell phone like this, see, you're all crunched over like this. So by the time you go in there, they're gonna notice the remnants of that, and you will not do as well in the interview. So before you go into the interview, you wanna be out in the lobby, getting up on the balls of your feet, and doing the Wonder Woman thing, you know? And they even say how long, you know, like 5-7 seconds or something, you wanna do this, and then when you go in, you have a better chance of getting a job. So you can just affect how your body looks, operates, and other people see it. And it affects somewhat how you feel. Now, on the next page, there are 4 ways to handle it from the inside. See, and the goals of good counseling and listening, see, whether you do it to yourself or somebody else does it with you, or you do it for somebody else, is first to reduce the emotional disturbance. See, to figure that emotional system is overloaded like steam in a pressure cooker, and you need to get some of it out, so you help people describe their emotions. And that reduces that, so it calms down a little bit, takes pressure off the rest of the body. Second is you clarify thinking, so you help them to think more accurately about what's going on and what happened. That helps them. Then the third is you increase their self-confidence, and you do that by not telling them what to do. See, if I treat you like a child and say, this is what you should do in this situation, see, that makes you slump over like a kid walking out. Do I have to take this parent's orders or not? When you get out there and put that into effect, it's just not gonna work for everyone. You only use part energy. Often with marriage counseling, I'd done it so long that I could listen for a little bit, and I'd say, oh, number 46, I know that one. But my knowing it did no good. Because if I told them that, it wouldn't work. Because they wouldn't have figured it out themselves, it wouldn't be theirs, and they'd only put 1/3 energy into it. And when they came back, you know whose fault it is? Mine. Because it was my advice. If I help them figure it out, and they come to it, then they walk out kind of straight with their solution, and they go out and they put all their energy into it. Different program. When they come back, if it worked, they get the credit. If it didn't work so well, then we just talk it through, help them figure out the next one, they go out and try that. But it's theirs. That builds self-confidence because I'm treating them as though they can manage their own lives. If I treat them as though they're better off if they do what I tell them, then they go out and slump over and only part of themselves, and that ain't good. And just apply that to people you work with, or bosses you've had, or people you work for you. It's important to help people know it's up to them how they manage themselves and what they do. But your job, again, is to help them figure that out. Okay, the fourth one then is to provide a supportive friendship. People just function better when they're not alone. You know, with suicide, people who don't feel alone don't jump off bridges. You know, people who feel really alone and all by themselves occasionally do. So if you're listening to somebody who's going through a really tough crisis, if it's at that level or any other, they need to know that you are a friend. Now sometimes they'll tell you, you know, I've had suicidal people tell me, I don't have a friend in the world, nobody cares about me. Now, I've spent about 25 hours listening to them, and what I want to say is, look, you jerk, what do you think do you think I only do this because I get paid? Or I do this because I care about you? See, I want to straighten them out. Then what are they sure of? Now they know for sure they don't have a friend. See, instead I say, oh, you really don't feel like you got a friend in the world. And they say, no, I don't. So when times get tough, you're just really all alone. Is that right? Yeah. Well, except for you. See, if you feed it back and listen to them, they'll come around. But if you tell them, you won't. Now, we're gonna look at where the trouble sets in here. Wait a minute. Okay, down here I'll make a change. Okay. Under the flat brain tango, see here you've got the person with the hard heart, the fat belly, and the flat brain and all of that, and there's you or me right next to him. See, here's the one that's functional. No, this is the fat belly, hard heart. This is the functional one. Okay. So when you run into this one, and I've got this picture drawn backwards here, don't I? Yeah,
We'll work with you.
well,
That's okay.
oh, all right. All right.
Now that you've told us,
And now, okay,
you've noticed.
you can make that, okay,
Make the jump.
all right. This one is FB, that's for flat brain. And this is for us over here, so this one comes, this one, I walk in the front door of the house, and this one says, "You're late for dinner again." Now, is that a feeling or a thought? Thought? And we see without the feeling, it's a judgment or judgmental, and it's an attack. What's normal behavior? Oh, it jolts my brain, and I go into defense mode. Okay, if dinner were decent, I'd get here on time. Logical, right? Attack, yes. Now, this person, see, who had a fat belly, what's it do to them? It's a little fatter. Jolts the brain, comes back with, you are a workaholic just like your father. We could change the sexes here, it would be the same. Well, if you're going to talk about relatives, the mother was kind of a rotten cook too. Yeah. And your father, phew, bam, all he was judgmental. I said, look, you agreed, that you would, take care of cooking and doing all that stuff and not complain about it, and that we would, anyway. Now they call it a flat brain tango, and that's a lot. You see it every day on television with the people, on talk shows, the Democrats and Republicans going after each other. It's the normal way we've come to communicate in this country. Some of it's not as heated, but it's pretty defensive, pretty edgy, not very much fun. Now, what do we do about that? Okay. And there's some basic questions in there. I think we're dealing with church is kind of a good place to deal with this stuff. We're kind of dealing with a basic level of what we have sometimes called sin, or power in relationships and control. Remember the Pink Panther years and years ago, and David Niven had plied Claudia Cardinal, the gorgeous princess, with enough alcohol that she finally said, well, now what is going to happen is going to be absolutely up to you. And his eyes just went in orbit. And then she said, and we're going to find out whether you're going to be a victor or a friend. See, a victor or a friend. Are you going to win and get what you came here for? Or are you going to be a friend and look out for me? Now, see, a lot of these conversations that are like this, the flat brain tango, is that kind of an issue. It's like, who's going to win? See, who's going to win about the argument over who's late, or who spent too much money about what, or on all those things we deal with, or whether we spend the money in this way for a healthcare plan or that way. See, those are battles for winning. And a need to win. See, we watch a lot of tennis. The need to win is so strong in some people. It's an anxiety. It's not just the desire to win, but it's also an I'm not okay if I don't. It's an anxiety as well. And those folks, see, are willing not to call a ball out when it is. They're willing to cheat or use drugs or something. A desire to win that is accompanied with a desire to play fair and whatnot, see, is different than that. But the need to win, see, is like is an anxiety-driven thing. And many of us think in this country that we've said a lot about we have a right to defend ourselves. You know, that's true if someone's coming at you with a baseball bat. You know, then, by God, swing a bat faster. But if it's words, you know, and what they're doing is verbally attacking, then if you defend yourself, you're going to make it worse. Because that's all in the world that was going on here, is one attack, defense, attack, defense. And once the first shot's been fired, defense and defense and attack are identical. See, there's no difference. So if I defend me, what I'm doing is attacking you. If I say, look, I'm in the right on this one, what I'm saying is you're in the wrong. If I'm the good person, you're the bad person. You know, see, I'm right, you're wrong. Defending me is attacking you. So if you defend yourself in a relationship, you make it worse. I have couples come in for counseling, and the first thing they'll say is, you know, our communication is really fine. That's not a problem. And then they both want to say, he wants to say, it's her, and she says, it's him. You know? And so what they want to do is to get me to agree on which one is right, which one is wrong, so that they can then function better. And what I know is that'll do absolutely no good. And there are times when a guy in particular I can remember was so strong on that, and I said, all right. Oh, no, he said, I know what she thinks, and it's wrong. I said, okay, well, how about if you listen to her first and find out for sure what she really thinks? But I know. All right, okay. We'll try a listening technique anyway. What you do, I want you to say, honey, here's what I understand you to think. Is that correct? Well, but I know. I said, no, try it. And so finally he did say, honey, this is what I think you think about this. Or this is what you think, right? She was, no way, not at all. And then I said to the guy, okay, now let's try something very different and ask her what she thinks and feels about this. Oh, well, what do you? And then their eyes are open. And I've had couples go from being ferociously angry, you know, to in tears because I thought, I didn't know you still cared about me. I really didn't think so. You know, and that really hurt. It went from way up here down to that. And the couple who says, we know how to communicate, if I let them go, in 2 minutes they're arguing. See, in 2 minutes, this is what's going on. And that, again, is where we are an awful lot of time in our communication and relationships. And what I want to do is to get out of that. So, back to the board here. The other thing, too, about the Christian stuff for us. Normal and deviant behavior. What I want from you is not normal behavior. For me, this is normal behavior. This is what everybody does. See, what I want from you is deviant. Now, I'm a mathematician from my background, great training for ministry. But deviant is different from the norm, not the norm. So I don't want you to do what everybody else does, because everybody else defends themselves when somebody jumps them. You know, like if I say, you know, why'd you wear that dress? I mean, you'll come right back with a defense. Instead, what I want you to do is when you feel attacked, when you feel that feeling, and notice in the first picture there under opting out of the flat brain, there's that thud there. When you feel that thud, like somebody attacks you, give me half a dozen quick attacks, things you could hit me with. You know, we're just playing here.
Why do you feel you have to wear that pen in your pocket?
Well, yes, give me some more, quick. Just come up with it.
You have that stupid hat on again.
You have the stupid hat on again? Yeah, okay. A couple more.
That's not my favorite shirt.
Great. See, when you get hit with stuff like this, or see, when preachers are running, you say, you know, you preachers are getting paid way too much. You know, your sermons are too long. You know, see, there are all kinds of things. When you get hit, you get kind of a thud feeling here. Oh, one of my favorites. I ran into a guy downtown one time, back when I was still working in the church, and he says, "You didn't come see me in the hospital when I had a heart attack." You know what I wanted to say? In seminary, they didn't give me a crystal ball. Nobody told me. You could have called. See, that would have all defended me. Would that have helped him? No. See, that would have been, we'd have ended into the tango. Instead, see, it came back and said, oh, so you figured that I should have known that you were there. Well, of course. And you're disappointed and let down that I didn't get there. Yeah, I am. It sounds like I really am part of your life and I'm important to you. Well, yeah. You hear the tone change? See, when you acknowledge and feedback what's there, see, that changes it. Now, how do you do that? Okay. When you feel that attack, here, when you feel that here, I call that the Sud Experience. See, this is Sud over here. You feel attack, and you're going to go up here and jolt your brain and then defend yourself. Instead, right there, you go and say, I've just been hit in the gut. Now, what does that mean? Now, see in this next picture, so you see the gulp number 2 there? See, then you go back to your emotions, say, oh, I've just been hit, that hurt. Then you say, but wait a minute. Do I have that coming? Well, everybody screws up, everybody gets flat brain, everybody does some good stuff, bad stuff. No, I don't have it coming any more than anybody else does. See, as human beings, we all have a little bit, but really, none of us deserves to get attacked. Okay? Because that doesn't help. That's not helping anything. So I don't deserve it. So why am I getting hit? I remember. It's because up there towards number 4, somebody has a flat brain. And when they have a flat brain, they can't see that I'm a friend. They can't hear anything I say. See, what they think is screwed up. And why do they have a flat brain? Oh, I remember, see down to 5? They've got a fat belly. They got an overload. So that I call the double reverse twist. I like kind of really technical language that will help you wow your friends. Because that kind of reminds me in a kidding way that, oh, when somebody hits me, instead of the normal behavior of defending myself, instead of that, I go with deviant, and I go with, oh, I've been hit in the gut, something going on, flat brain, must be upset. Oh, you must be upset with me. And I go check that out and help that person describe that feeling to let a little of that steam out of that pressure cooker so it takes a little pressure off his brain. Then in the next picture, we just go back and forth between stomach and head. Oh, so in your stomach, you're really angry, and then the head, you see me as a guy who should have come to see you but didn't, and then back to the stomach, and you felt let down and disappointed in me. That's underneath the anger. And then you really think that the pastor's job is to do that, and down in the gut, when you really get down to it, you wanted some support, and you didn't get it. That hurt. So you just kind of walk them back and forth between thinking and feeling, thinking and feeling. Literally in counseling sessions sometimes when I'm having trouble getting anywhere with a person, I'll look at that. I'll look at head, stomach, and respond to what they see. See, and the head has a lot of clues here. When you look at my head, see, there's what I think here, there's what I've heard, see, there's what I smell, there's what I've said, there's what I've thought. See, all of those are options for me to feed back. Oh, what did you see about that? What did you hear? See, what have you been thinking about that? How long have you been thinking that? See, so there's a lot to respond in the head. Then the stomach. Oh, that must have hurt. See, and when you got hurt, then you got angry, and so we can work through that. And then back to the head. So when you were feeling that way, what did you do? Oh, well, this is what I did. And when you did that, oh yeah, I felt a little better. So you just literally move a person back and forth. So when you're sitting at Starbucks, see, just look at the head, stomach. Just go back and forth. That will help them down emotionally, calm down. The head, think straighter. See, that'll help them because you're not giving them answers. They'll gain self-confidence, and they'll realize you're a friend because you really are listening through them and surrounding them with your love and the agape that comes when you listen to people. So, see, for me, that's how you really help support and grow another person. Now, the last figure there acknowledges once in a while they're really heavy duty on this is the way it is, and you slide in like from the head. See, the head is, this is the way it is up 4. You slide into 6, and you say, oh, so this is the way it looks to you. No, this is the way it is. They're back. Oh, so you feel really strongly, Five, that this is the way it is, and if it's not going to happen that way, there's going to be big trouble. Oh yeah, that's it. So you slide through that heart function and help them every now and then get a sense that this is their view, they're hurt, they're upset. That's not the way it is for everybody, but it is theirs, and you acknowledge that. So that's a helpful one. Now jump over to the next page.
Jim, can I,
Yeah.
going back to that situation of the pastor not visiting someone in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I understand sort of acknowledging their feelings and keeping their focus on
Yeah.
how they feel and
Mhm.
identifying with that. But is there a point where you share your own perspective of why you didn't visit?
Yeah.
And,
Usually, but not always.
okay,
Commonly what happens is that by the time you've listened long enough, you've worked it out, and you don't need to say anything about the crystal ball or that you didn't know or that you wish you'd been there, because you've already cemented the relationship by connecting with him through the listening. If there comes a point where you really have a different perspective than they do, then in effect you say, okay, we're going to switch now. We've been kind of working on where you are with this. Now we're going to switch and kind of work on where I am with this. And that we'll get to when we get the card, because that's a matter of turning the card from talker to listener. And so you need to do that kind of carefully. But often what the first time when I've been hit like that, what I want to say often is not useful later. But sometimes there's something left over that's good to say. Yeah. But yeah, there can be a time where you do that. Otherwise, you go home with an ulcer, and that's not a cool one either. Okay. On the next page, look at the middle and go to acknowledge and repeat accurately. We're going to get to the card there, but I need to look at the clock. Oh, we've got to move faster. Okay. Acknowledging. These first two are sort of my all-time favorite listening techniques. I've got over 30 in the book, and here there's just the definition of them, but I did not put illustrations in. So we'll illustrate just a little bit, but for those I've got more over there. Acknowledge, you words, tone, language, whatever, to acknowledge that what the person is the way it is. Like the kid comes running in, oh, I got a skinned knee, hurt. And parents all believe that it's their job to determine, is the wallowing worth the blood? No, it's not that bad. What does the kid do? Ah, louder, So you got to make sure you get the message. Instead, if the parent, when you say skin knee, that jolts the parent and they'll get just a little thud. And so instead of defending or arguing, you say, oh, that must hurt. And the kid says, yeah, goes back out to play. See, we human beings need acknowledging. Let me give you another one. On this one, what I want you to do is to say the first thing that comes to your mind, forget all this stuff we've been talking about. The first thing that comes to your mind, just quick like this, okay? So the wife says to the husband, dang it, I'm tired, I'm not gonna go to work today. Quick, first response.
Are you gonna stay home?
Yeah, come on,
I'll make you breakfast.
make bread.
why are you tired?
Why are you tired? Yeah. Why is almost always an attack unless you stick a curious in front of it. But see, it would be very common to say, well, for crying out loud, we agreed we're both going to work so we could afford this damn house. See, something really supportive like that. Now I want to try it again and have you acknowledge what. I think I might not go to work today. I'm so dang tired. Acknowledge that.
You worked late last night.
Yeah, you worked late. Yeah.
Tired this morning.
Yeah. See, we're so used to having to agree or disagree, it's really hard to do this. See, what I want you to do is not agree or disagree. See, agree and disagree are in the courtroom. See, not in relationships. See, well, you need to come back and say, oh, so this right now work looks like just crap to you. You really would like to take off and go to the beach or take a nap. Oh, yeah. But I don't want to be late. See, it's just a different way of responding. All right. Now, repeat accurately is my second favorite, and that's the one when I have somebody that is just, we're not getting anywhere, and I just settle in to repeat everything they say, same tone, same thing back. But, let's see, let's try this again on the, oh, I got it. I'm the husband this time, and I'm the stay-at-home husband, and she's working, and she wants me to go to the company picnic today. I'm saying, I'm not going to that damn company picnic. Now, quick responses. First, no thinking, just quick.
Jim's going.
What's that?
Jim's going.
Jim's going, yeah. Give me
Yes,
some
you
more.
are.
What's that? Yes, you are. They pay our bills, you know. Okay.
You really don't wanna go to that, huh?
Yeah. See, that's listening. Okay. Yeah. See, these others are kind of arguing. Okay. Let me get another one I don't want to miss here. Sometimes when we repeat accurately, what we say is, oh, so you don't want to go, you decided not to go to the very company picnic, the company that pays our bills and allows us to travel in Europe and do all those good things, right? Now, is that a straight, honest feedback?
No, it's right.
They're not thinking of that now.
No, that's in political terms what you call putting spin on it.
Oh,
See?
that's what spin is.
Yeah, that's spin. See, that's taking the feedback accurately and just putting your own spin on it. Yeah, that's sure. Anyway,
Isn't what they want to hear from you is that you understand what they are feeling?
yes, feeling and thinking. Yeah. See, and so repeat accurately would be something like the person says, I am so mad at my husband, I'm gonna kill him. Now, see, we're Presbyterians, right? And so we want to soften that a little bit. So we say, so you're really upset, so I don't use anger. We're really upset with him, and you're kind of bothered about what he's been doing. See, that is not repetition and accuracy. See, accuracy is, so you are so dang mad at your husband, you would like to kill him today. Absolutely. So, and I repeat accurately, absolutely. See, you can do the last paragraph, the last sentence, the last word, just repeat accurately. And then she comes back and says, well, actually not absolutely. I think about killing him, but I wouldn't do that. But if you try to argue them out of it, see, they'll stay with it. See, repeating accurately and acknowledging, see, the kind of the feeling tone and all of that, those two, if you just get those and work on them, they'll get you out of a ton of situations where they'll go better. But now, you want to improve and get more of them. You see, parafeeling is putting, a lot of people use paraphrase. I like parafeeling and para-thought or thinking as different, just to remind you that there's stomach and head. See, emotion and thinking. See, just paraphrase, you kind of lose that. And it's really important, again, to move them back and forth between the emotional stuff and the thinking stuff when you're feeding things back. It also makes you work at keeping track of that. Now, we're going to try another one where you just use those. And this time I am a smoker. And you just found out that I am in the hospital and have discovered I have lung cancer. Okay? Now, this time, again, I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. And the reason I wanted you to do that is because I want you to realize that normal, that is normal, what we've learned from our culture, is not helpful stuff. See, so I want you just to throw it out because I just want to have a really clear sense of what's in us, because that's the stuff I want you to avoid, and you can't avoid it unless you know it's there. Okay, so I'm in the house. You come to visit me. See, nice deacon in the church. See, and so you walk up to my bed, and the first thing I say to you, that damn granola eating doctor says I gotta quit smoking. What a jackass he is. First comment, quick.
We're
Number
Easter
for you.
people.
What? What?
Smoking.
We're Easter people.
What?
Easter people.
Oh, defending yourself.
Smoking's really important to you, isn't it?
Oh, now you listen. I want the first stuff. Come on. What
Oh, that's
nasty
what I-
response is that?
Sorry, I can't think of
What do
it.
you
Bummer
expect?
for you.
What?
What do you expect? You've been doing 2 packs a day. You're gonna get sick.
Yeah. See.
The Surgeon General has been telling us this for years.
Yeah. See. Now, see, you would be talking to somebody who looks like this. See, ears don't work, eyes don't work, brain doesn't work. So they can't take that in.
Mhm.
See, that's one more person attacking them, just like the doc.
Right.
See, okay, now use the stuff here, use the acknowledge, repeat accurately, or paraphealing. Use that on me. That damn doctor, that granola eating guy, he said I gotta quit smoking. Now help me with it.
He says you've gotta quit smoking.
Yeah, see, notice, repeat accurate. Yeah, he did. See, it allows me to go on. You know, what a jerk. You know, he has no idea what smoking means to me.
He has no idea what smoking means to me.
Yeah, see, when you're stuck and don't know what else to do, repeat accurately. See, that's one of the benefits of that one. Yeah, exactly right. He just doesn't have a clue.
I was just gonna say, so smoking means a lot to you, and it's
Yeah.
a big part of your life.
Yeah, it's been,
Yeah.
yeah, you have no idea, you know. I started smoking when I was a kid to be one of the guys, and then I went in the military, and the people who smoked got 15 minutes off to smoke every hour, and the others didn't. How long does it take you to figure out what makes sense there? You know, and
Is
then,
that why so many people in the military smoke?
yeah,
I never knew that.
I don't know if it's still true, but it was when I came up with the story.
Well, back then, anyway.
Keep going, keep working with me here.
You seem to be upset that you can't smoke.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
that he's telling you not to smoke.
yeah. Well, yeah, and, you know,
He's telling
smoking-
you how to run your life.
Yeah, that's right. He's telling me what to do, and besides, you know, smoking, that's what I do like after work. I go with the guys and we have a beer and smoke, and I don't think, if I didn't smoke, I don't think they'd let me, I don't think they'd still be friends. I don't think that.
So you're worried about friends because of the not smoking?
Oh, yeah, that's just been part of our culture, you know.
You want to be hang out with guys that are like you.
Yeah, yeah, well, we've been friends for years, you know. We've been working at the same place. Now, you can think, how are you gonna get me to move on a little bit?
Do you have any new friends that?
Well, yeah, I suppose, see, I don't know if they, you know, and the thing, but I don't know if they stick around or not. But I suppose when I think about it, this whole cancer thing has gotten me to thinking about whether I wanna live or not. You know, how important that is. You know, and when I think about that. Help me.
What do you think? Why is it important to live?
Well, you know, I was thinking about my grandkids. You know, they're,
Pretty special?
yeah, they're special, and not only that, but you know, my kids, I don't think they give their kids enough time of the day. You know, they're a little bit too pushy with them, and
You have more time
yeah.
Have you heard from the doc that you could get better if you quit smoking? I mean, I know
Don't miss
he
this thing
told
with
you
the,
to
don't miss this
quit.
thing with the kids here.
Oh, okay.
Sounds
Did you
like
follow
they're
it?
pretty special in those kids' lives. That could perhaps
Yeah.
change if you would,
Yeah, if I weren't
I
here,
think it could change if you stopped the smoking.
you kinda slipped that in there.
Yes, I did.
That's kinda nasty for a deacon in the church, but
So
you
spend
know,
more time with your grandkids is important.
for those children?
well, you're,
He wants you to come up with the
you
idea.
gotta push it.
that
Yeah,
smoking is
yeah.
bad.
See, stay with me and my caring for those kids and what might,
Okay.
see, that's the thing that might get me to stick around.
What do you enjoy doing with those kids?
Oh, I take them
Perfect.
fishing, we do a whole lot of stuff on the weekends, you know, when the parents are too busy. You know?
I'm listening. I'm listening.
You are
I'm listening.
Yeah, see, that's really that's an important part of my life, and you know, I don't wanna leave them without somebody who kind of unconditionally cares for them. See, the parents are too conditional with the kids. I'm just not ready to leave those kids with their parents yet. You know?
That's what grandpas do.
Hmm?
That's what grandpas do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Grandparents and grandkids get along well because they have a common enemy. You know, the ones in the middle. And that's, see, you keep working with me. See, I'd get around to saying, you know, I'm gonna stay alive because these kids are important to me. Even though that jerk doctor, you know,
And those parents.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, see, I did this one time with a group of combination clergy and sort of lay chaplains in a retirement community. They could not stop lecturing me and talking. Could not. You know? See, you stayed with it here and worked at the listening. But see, I want you to see how different those are. Okay, grab the talker listener card quick, and oh my goodness. Well, anyway, there are lots of other listening techniques on there. Some of my favorites are decoding, and there's a picture down there about that. And on the last page, there's hemming and hawing. There's some wonderful, old folks and boring stories. Way to deal with that. What do you do after death? Anyway.
That's very good.
So over there, some of the books are down. We do a family friend price for $15 instead of $22.95. Sally has a couple of little books of essays, that one she just produced a couple of weeks ago, that are wonderful. If you could glance at them. And that's Carl back there. And if we do a newsletter from time to time, and if you'd like that, give us a name and an email address, and there's a place to sign up there. But a couple of comments about this, and I'll let you go. This is built on the idea of taking turns that kids know how to do, in school and all. Talking and listening are different, and the roles are on there. So talking is to share my feelings and my thoughts. Watch the finger method here, pointing at me. See, I'm upset. This is what I think. This is how I see it. It's what I heard. See, that's different than going this way. The no-nos at the bottom. See, are accusing, labeling, attacking, judging. See, that's when I'm pointing the finger this way. So if you need to talk to somebody where you really got to do it well, kind of put your hand out there and sort of point at yourself. So you're describing yourself and what's here, not them. See, this is accusing, and that's putting people down. This is different. See, and a bunch of those comments, that would have come back to the talker, to the smoker, where, see, you should have quit because the Surgeon General said, and everybody knows, and, see, it's like this. This is, I'm worried about you. See, I'm concerned, or, Okay, but with the talker then, see, the listener corresponds, see, is to provide safety and to understand and clarify. So you work at trying to understand what's going on, and all the listening techniques work for both of those. The understanding, if I'm the listener, is for me, so I get to understand you better. Clarifying is for you, so you get to understand you better. See, sometimes people are upset, say, I know what I think, I just can't say it. Well, the truth is that they knew what they thought, they could say it. See, but it's a mixture of thinking and feeling, and as a listener or counselor, your job is to help them say it out loud so they hear it and can sort it out and say, no, that's not quite it. And you feed it back and say, well, did you mean this or this? And no, that's not, it's more of this, and you say, oh, it's more of that. Yeah, that's it. See, it helps them clarify and figure it out. And in the process, I get to understand, and they do too. And as the listener, I don't get to agree, and sometimes talkers will say, well, do you agree with that, Jim? See, my temptation is to go into talking. See, if I say, yes, I agree, I'm talking, not listening. Say, oh, so you're worried about whether you're the only one who thinks that way. You'd kind of like to have me and others kind of in your camp. Oh, yeah, so you're not all that sure about where you are with that. See, I'd help them stay with that, but not take it over. See, disagreeing is obvious. See, that's talking. Advising, now that's what we all want to do. We feel so important and so good when we give somebody advice, and they come to us for advice. And people will say, oh yeah, people really like me to give them advice. Well, it ain't quite that way. Because advice is talking, not listening. See, and it's putting you down. So if you're the talker and I'm the listener, and I start to give you advice, what I'm saying is, I'm really a lot smarter than you are. And if you could just do it my way, you wouldn't be in this mess. See the finger? See, it's different than, oh, so I'm wondering kind of how you see it and what you've tried and how do you think that'll work, or what about this, and come up with 8 other ideas and let's see what we can find that might work for you. But you help them decide. See, that's really different. And defending is obvious. That's defending yourself, and that's talking, not listening. That's really faster than I like to do this, but anyway. Any comments, questions?
I'd still like to know, just ways to transition to, when you feel like you need to share your perspective in your field.
Yes.
What are some helpful tips to make that transition?
First of all, practice this. Call a friend and go use this with them at Starbucks or someplace. Set it down between you. See, and say, just describe quickly how it works, and then say, let me talk first about an issue of mine, and I'll try to point at me, and then then when we've done that, you're no advice, and see, read your side of the card, and none of that, no talking. Just help me think it through, and then finally you say, now, is this how you see it? This is what you think? And then when I can say, okay, then we'll turn the card. See, and then I'm gonna listen to you. See, and people will do it if you say, we'll take turns. See, I want you to listen to me for a while and help me, then I will return the favor and do that for you. And so you kind of learn to do that. And then when you're talking with somebody, the telephone's a good place to practice this when you're on the phone. So every time the conversation switches, turn it. So if you're talking and you're focused on your stuff, you have it this way, and if they take it over and say, well, what you really should have done, Brad, was this, see, that they just started talking. So your choice is listen to them. Oh, so the way you see it is I should have done it this way, or or you'd say, hey, wait a minute, it was my turn. Let's get back. I want you to focus on my point of view. When you're doing it with somebody where they've talked a while and it feels like it's time to switch, you need to take charge of that. Because there are some people who will talk until your ears fall off. They just go from one thing to they leapfrog from one to another.
Well, when they're in denial,
Yeah,
they can't avoid,
yeah,
they have to avoid the truth.
yeah.
And so they're gonna talk about everything under the sun rather than,
So a practical way to do that is to say, okay, let me summarize what I've heard from you, and then we're going to switch and talk about it from my point of view. So you really got to say it out loud.
Okay.
See, now if you introduce the card to them, you've got a thing to help you with it. If you haven't, then you just got to do it with the words.
It's not just kind of interjecting your point of view, but
No.
being able to say verbally out loud, I'd like now time to share.
Right, right. Yeah,
You're
and
the
remind them,
supervisor of the process.
Yeah, remind them of the process. See,
Yeah.
what I've been doing is I've been listening to you
Yeah.
and trying to help you sort out where you are with this issue. And we had a pretty good feel for what that is. Now we're gonna switch, and it's gonna be my turn. And then we're gonna talk about how I see it. And your job is not to agree or disagree or give me any advice. Just feed it back so I can say, yeah, that's it, or no, that's not. See, I'm the one who gets to go like this. See, when you're talking, then you get to do that. But when I'm talking, I get to do it. And if they interrupt, argue, or start to do any of the stuff that's no-no, you just, see, if you have the card, you just turn it on. And if not, you say, hey, wait a minute, you forgot the rules. See, fair is fair, see. We take turns here. We all learned that in kindergarten. See, I listen to you, now you listen to me. We can't do that. We're gonna, this, for me, if it goes too much only one way, that's not a relationship. And I have to think about whether my time's worth that. So, good luck. Hey, thank you all for coming. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.